Welcome back to Second Breakfast and our ongoing game discussions, bringing you the best thoughts, theories, and literary analysis this side of hell. Can't wait for this. It's
We're
going to be
talking
fun.
about Doom Eternal today. Doom the Dark Ages is about to come out, so I've been brushing up, doing my homework, replaying the earlier games because I'm so excited for the new one. And I had quite the experience going back to Doom Eternal. I realized all of my the experience was still my experience, but I was totally wrong about the game. I just did a complete 180 on Doom Eternal, so I wanted to talk about that today.
I'm really excited to do this, especially because this is a game that I've seen you play a lot and talk about, but I don't really know much about other than it's a shooter and I can never play it because it would make me seasick. So I'm really excited to hear about it. To sort of like catch me up, can you just give me, Cam, a very, very brief history and context of this game, where it started, where it is, and your history with it, just so I can be on the same page? Because I'm getting a little confused already, because there's a new one about to come out and you keep calling it a sequel, but I know there are more than two, so tell me what's going on there.
So Doom was one of the original formative shooters around the time I was born, actually. And it was
fresh out the womb playing Doom.
Oh, that was a bar. It was quick, it was loud, it was violent, it could play on pretty much any consumer PC. Mm-hmm. I mean, people get the original Doom running on like graphing calculators and fridges now. It's
incredible.
It's very funny. It's one of those things people hack into every
on like a smart
screen.
Fridge?
Yes,
that's
anything
really
you can imagine.
Funny.
It's a funny wormhole to go down in the internet.
That's great.
And there were a bunch of sequels at the time, and then they started playing with the formula. The third one was much more of a horror game, and then it went dormant for a while, and that studio started making other games. It became part of the Bethesda family. So Fallout and Elder Scrolls, this is id Software, which is part of the overall kind of Bethesda family now.
Got it.
They made the Wolfenstein games, which was an original simple shooter that came out actually before the original Doom, if I'm remembering things correctly.
Okay.
And then they revitalized Doom in 2016. So instead of calling it Doom 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever it would actually be, because there were some kind of spin-offy games, they called it Doom 2016. They just called it Doom.
Cool.
And people like
kind of like God of War.
Exactly like God of War.
Gotcha.
And that one was very much run and gun. And it looked amazing, and it was quick and loud and had this banging metal soundtrack. It was such a breath of fresh air because we were getting fewer and fewer of those cinematic shooter campaigns, like what I loved so much with Halo and Gears of War.
I see. Got it.
So I really got into Doom around 2016 with that kind of reboot game, and that just blew my mind. I've replayed that so many times. And then that brings us to Doom Eternal, which is the second game in this kind of revitalized, I guess it's about to be a trilogy of Doom games. And that was Doom Eternal in 2020. And then the next one that's about to come out now in 2025 is Doom the Dark Ages.
Cool. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, very helpful to know. So you played Doom Eternal when it first came out in 2020, is that correct?
Yes, I bought it day one. I was incredibly excited for it after Doom 2016.
Cool. And how was that for you? Because it's been 5 years and you've only just finished the game. So tell me more about your experience there.
I hated it,
oh.
Which is not a unique opinion. I've heard, especially in the lead up now to the Dark Ages, a lot of people have been going back and looking at the previous games, and this was incredibly divisive. I mean, it kind of still is, to the point that Doom the Dark Ages is doing its own thing again. I think it's interesting to look at these three games as a sequence, as almost this rough trilogy, because they're not... I mean, story-wise, they are continuous. They are following on from each other. But I think it's much more that they're each different refractions of the original Doom back from the 90s.
Almost like they're siblings. Like they're all different, children of the original Doom.
Yes.
And they're connected and related, but they're so individual.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Okay, cool. What was it that you were like most excited about with Doom Eternal? Like what were you expecting, and then what expectations were and were not met?
More. I just wanted more. I wanted
okay.
the confidence you get after an extremely well-received reboot. In the same way God of War Ragnarok is so much more and bigger. But I wasn't expecting them to take so many risks and change so much about the game structurally, where it felt very different. Obviously, the mechanics are the same. It's still a fast, big, loud, banging shooter.
Yeah.
But they changed so much of the core mechanics, if that's what you're asking about right now.
Yeah.
Because going into it, I was frustrated because so much of the first Doom 2016 was run and gun. It was just these big long kind of arenas, and they would throw a bunch of demons at you. You shoot your way through it, you move on to the next one. Doom Eternal is so much about platforming and verticality. You get a dash, you get like a double dash and a double jump, and it's about moving through and finding all these secrets in the combat arenas.
Okay.
And secrets have a long history in Doom, but it was so much about first-person platforming, which is really risky.
Yeah.
Especially when you're moving at high speed and you're kind of trapezing off of like crowbars and swing jumping, and it's more complicated than that. And it was very much a your mileage may vary situation about the first-person platforming.
Okay.
But the big thing was the difficulty.
Okay.
Where it seemed like Doom Eternal was just way harder than Doom 2016 was. And I don't just mean the enemies were more spongy. It was also that you were constantly out of ammo.
Oh, you don't seem to want that in a shooter.
Never.
That seems annoying.
I hate that. Because it almost... The first impression that I got, and I think most people got, was that it was veering into almost a different subgenre, what felt like more almost survival horror.
Yeah.
Like something like Resident Evil, where it is about ammo conservation and can I use a melee weapon to save my ammo?
Yes, and that makes sense in that kind of world. Like that's the kind of immersion you want, is like that's how it would be in a situation like that, versus this is so like fantastical and fun and shooty that doesn't seem like it should be a factor.
I don't want to be stingy in a Doom game.
Yeah, right. You want to just like, on everybody.
Especially when the music is cranking that loud.
Yeah.
I just want to be blazing through this level.
Okay.
And it can be difficult. I'm fine with that. I've played plenty of difficult games. I don't need to go through my resume there, but I can play difficult games. That's not the issue. It was just the ammo scarcity I found was constantly cramping my style coming off of Doom 2016, where you always, the ammo caps for each gun, it was like cut in half.
Wow.
For each, and you were constantly out of ammo for the gun you wanted. So it was always about kind of being scrappy and switching between weapons. And I hated that initially, to the point that I didn't even finish the game. Ugh. I only played about the first half when it came out.
That's so disappointing.
I was crestfallen. I was heartbroken.
Well, so, yeah, that is disappointing. And it just sounds like, it seems kind of counter to the identity of the game as you knew it. So then what was it that brought you back?
The new one coming out.
Okay, so just kind of like getting rehyped and wanting to just try again.
I just wanted to give it another shot. Because I do trust these developers. I believe it's the same game director, Hugo Martin, who's done all three of these games.
Oh, that's cool. Good for him.
So that level of continuity, the way they started to pitch Doom the Dark Ages really piqued my interest. Obviously, I was going to be there day one anyway, especially with it being on Game Pass.
It does look really, really cool. I'm never going to play this game just because it's not my kind of game, and I don't think I physically can. But like watching it and looking at the trailer for Doom the Dark Ages, it looks really, really cool.
And the initial reveal of Doom the Dark Ages looked so much more like 2016 than it did Eternal.
Okay.
Where they give you this big Captain America shield with a chainsaw on it.
That's
and the kind of tag for it, in the same way 2016 was run and gun, Doom the Dark Ages was stand and fight. So it's less verticality, it's more about you as this like tank. Cool. Where you have the big shield and you have all these big chunky weapons and you're just mowing through these massive kind of battles.
Very cool.
Which seemed like they were pivoting back to what more people seemed to love about 2016 than the more divisive Eternal.
I see.
And that made me think, okay, but I don't know. What was Eternal offering? What was the vision there?
Yeah.
I've played 5 years more of games.
I was going to say that, I wonder how much that impacts you, because this happens with you a lot, I think. You start a game, you're not loving it, and you come back months or years later. And I always figure that your gaming experience in that interim is going to affect or impact how you then experience the game, again, in some way.
It is, and I think recently I've been really grinding away on Destiny. I got back on the wagon there.
Yeah, we did an episode about Destiny: The Final Shape a few weeks ago.
Yes,
go check that out.
And since then, I've been playing the episode. They switched from big expansions to episode. It doesn't matter. I was grinding all the way to rank 100 of the latest episode, so I was in it. And when I lean into Destiny, that is the most white knuckle gaming experience.
Yeah.
And it is a shooter. So it's all about managing your melee and your grenade and switching between guns.
And I was going to say, you talk about all the platforming on Doom Eternal. I feel like that's what Destiny is. It's constantly jumping up and down and going and literally going onto platforms while shooting. So it was surprising to me a minute ago that you said you didn't like that in the 2020 game.
I didn't like it in 2020, no. But now the way I've been leaning into Destiny lately and just the kind of highest level, most difficult content in that game and just pushing, that I think that has honed these muscles again. You know, I'm flexing right now.
I see.
So going back to Doom Eternal, I just had a completely different experience. And I do think Destiny shaped that. As well as playing a bunch of other more difficult games in the intervening 5 years.
Sure. Do you think, zooming out, do you think that, because if I'm remembering the Destiny timeline correctly, Destiny was kind of at its peak in the late 2010s. Is that correct? Right? And so, like, would that have impacted how these game developers were creating Doom Eternal? Like, maybe they were inspired by the success of Destiny in that play style. Do you think that had any impact on it?
I think
maybe that's me reaching. I don't know.
I think Doom is, well, I think mechanically, sure, there's crossover, but I think Doom is very much inspired by itself and the lineage of that game, because even Bungie making Destiny instead of making games like Halo, and now their new game, Marathon, doesn't even have a campaign. I think Doom is very much let's go back to what worked. Let's go back to basics, what people loved, of a big, loud story campaign with a lot of replay value, instead of what Destiny does with expansions that disappear, and it's all with other people and online, and it's all these different repeatable activities instead of cinematic missions through a campaign.
Okay.
So I don't think it's really reacting to Destiny. I think they are the two best feeling shooters on the market.
Sure.
What id and Bungie can do with a shooter, I don't think anything comes close to that. But they are markedly different games.
Okay. Interesting. So with all that in mind, and with this experience you've had lately with playing a lot of Destiny, and then you've come back to Doom Eternal, what changed? What did you like this time? What hit you differently? What was that mindset shift like for you?
I started a new save file.
Okay.
So I jumped in just totally fresh. And I remembered these kind of, flaring red flags in my head of, hey, I didn't like the ammo thing. The platforming was a little up and down, because it's real platforming. It's not just you have to jump to get around. It's almost an obstacle course sometimes. There's this floating, you can tell by the texture of a material if you can latch onto it.
Oh, interesting.
So it'll tell you you're hanging off of this pillar, and you have to jump, dash, and dash in the right directions to latch onto this other thing, and then do that 12 more times.
Oof.
You know what the challenge is. It's not about finding it. Sometimes in the Star Wars Jedi games, those are more Uncharted-like, where there are secrets that you can platform to.
Well, it's almost puzzly, right?
Yes.
Like half of the platforming is the puzzle of how do I get from point A to point B, but that's not what's happening here. What you have to do.
Yeah, the secrets are hidden away, but you're never really confused on where to go for the golden path through a level. But starting it up again, having just been grinding through Destiny so much, I really fell in love with this combat sandbox and how they did things, because it felt demanding. And I think I was in a mind space of being used to demanding first-person combat.
Okay.
But it also felt strategic, where I, to go to a Batman analogy, I had to use everything on the utility belt. I had to use the full toolkit of the game, versus something like Destiny, where if you're grinding high-level content, there's a meta. At any given time, there is a loadout that will perform better than everything else. And for your primary weapons, they have infinite ammo. So there'll be long stretches of Destiny where I'm using one gun.
I see, yeah.
And I
because you don't really need the others. You kind of found what works and it's fine.
And sometimes I'll be switching to your heavy weapon, whether that's a rocket launcher or a grenade launcher, something to do a ton of damage kind of in a snap emergency.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'll be just using my primary weapon over and over again, especially through Final Shape. I basically used one gun.
Okay.
So switching from that to Doom Eternal, where I never had much ammo, Maybe I was looking forward to using more than one gun.
I see. You invited the challenge in that way. Okay.
But it felt more like I was trying to diagnose different problems. So there's an enemy that runs up and has this blue energy shield that it's holding. And if you switch to your plasma weapon, plasma rifle, whatever it is, that will take down that shield faster and make it explode.
Cool.
Because the plasma builds up versus just dumping endless rounds from a shotgun into it that feels like you're not doing any damage at all. So finding those little hacks of like, oh, this weapon is supposed to be for this enemy.
I see.
That's gratifying.
I see. Like the game is designed, it wants you to switch weapons. It's not trying to create scarcity just to create a challenge. It's actually trying to make you be more strategic.
And I realized that in Doom 2016, there were a couple weapons I really glommed onto where I liked the way they felt. I liked the kind of power fantasy that they leaned into. So I basically just used those 1 or 2 guns the entire time. And you cannot do that here. Because if you're constantly running out of ammo, that means you're constantly looking for ammo. And yes, there is some scattered around the map and the levels, but mostly you have to make your own ammo.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask, how hard is it to get more ammo? What is that process like?
And this is kind of the balance of the game. And once I came to accept that this was the balance of the game, I started having a lot more fun. Because you have this chainsaw. And it felt like something I barely used in 2016 because the ammo for it was pretty scarce. And you would have to hit a different button and you would chainsaw someone in half and then a flurry of health and ammo would pop out of them.
Cool.
So it felt like something I barely thought of. I didn't really think to use. And I remember being stuck in Doom Eternal before I dropped it the first time because I was trying to use the weapons I liked. I was trying to play like I would in 2016 or something like Destiny. And then when I ran out of all the ammo, I would just have the chainsaw. And it felt so frustrating. But playing it this time, the thing I had to come to grips with was the chainsaw helps you. The chainsaw ammo regenerates automatically.
Okay.
So every minute or so, you get a new charge.
Cool.
So it has to be part of your repertoire that every minute or so, you're using that. You're chainsawing something small, so it will erupt into a cloud of ammo.
Okay.
And that will let you balance through your guns. And when you run out of all your ammo, when you hit the button that would pull up the wheel to show you all your weapons, if you just hit that button instead of holding it to pull up the wheel, it'll just switch to any available weapon with ammo.
Oh, that's helpful.
So it's about speed. It's about thinking. Sometimes you don't have the plasma rifle to take down the plasma shield, but you have these oh shit buttons. And that was where the game clicked for me because the beginning obviously is more beginner friendly. It's almost a tutorial.
Yeah.
They have tutorial sections actually that are, I don't know, a little clunky.
Okay.
But I realized when I was dying over and over again in a section that I wasn't using the oh shit buttons. And that meant hitting left bumper and throwing out grenades and upgrading the grenades so that they spawned other little grenades. And blowing, it was almost like a Cusco thing.
Okay.
And it was using that chainsaw.
Yeah.
So all of those I'm stuck, I'm dying, oh shit buttons. Once you start using those regularly, not as a last resort, but as part of the experience.
As part of the process, yeah.
As a regular part of the tool belt.
That's one of the
instead
tools.
of like a break glass in case of emergency.
I see.
Once I started to adjust to what the game was telling me to do, instead of trying to do what the previous game was telling me to do, I started to learn.
Cool.
And then I found the rhythm of the game.
That's such a rewarding thing when you feel like you've unlocked the game. Like, because I've had that happen too. I don't have a specific example, but I've had that happen where I feel like something's not quite working. I'm not quite clicking, but then it's like everything, there's a moment where it all clicks into place and I'm using every single thing available to me in the perfect dance. And it's so like, I'm just thinking of like my best Diablo experiences, I guess. Like when I've really got a mastery of the class I've chosen and I know exactly what I need to do and like balancing all the different skills. That's such a rewarding, nice feeling when you feel like you've unlocked the game and you and the game understand each other.
And it really is locked in. It's you're talking about a flow state. And I think that's what I ended up finding with Doom Eternal because I was aware of all of my tools. And as you have an overshield, but your health is never secure for long. And when you shoot an enemy enough that they're almost dead but not dead, they start flashing orange. And then if you click the right stick and you jump in there, you do a glory kill, which is kind of this really awesomely grotesque animation of you killing them in creative ways. That is what gives you health. And then the chainsaw is what gives you ammo.
Cool.
So it's about balancing all of these things. And when I was locked in, like completely focused, in the same way I think I lock in with Destiny, and you're not thinking about anything else in the world. You're just playing this content.
It's a nice feeling.
When you lose, when you die, I was always excited to go back in and try it differently and try
cool.
it better.
Oh, wow. That's a great feeling. Yeah.
It wasn't discouraging.
Yeah.
Which is how it felt the first time.
Yeah. Because there's such a fine balance, and it's so hard to strike, and it's magical when game developers get this, is you want something to be difficult and challenging and rewarding, but not so challenging that it's discouraging. That is, I think, such a hard balance to strike, and it is dependent on the player for sure. But that's really cool. Okay,
so it had the intensity of the best moments of Destiny, where it feels white knuckle, but it had an element of strategy that I've never really felt there.
Cool.
So it became this kind of white knuckle game of chess.
Oh,
and
fun.
I think it was helpful that I've been grinding all of these similar games lately, whether it's really tough games or really intense shooters. Kind of combining those things here with the fun platforming. I just blew through the second half of this game when I went back to my original save file, because that just felt like the complete thing. That felt like the most poetic thing for me to do, was go back to that original save file. To go back to something I was talking about before, when you said these games were kind of siblings, they were all descended from the original Doom, I think that's a beautiful way to put it. Because now that I reflect on the original Doom from the 90s, this feels like that. That game wasn't as vertical, like you couldn't move the camera up and down. You couldn't move the gun up and down.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
But there's an incredible sense of speed to the original Doom. You almost feel like you're figure skating through the levels.
Yeah, I've watched you play it, and it's so fast and so quick.
You move really quick, and the enemies are on different levels because you can't aim up or down. It just like shoots them where they are. It just kind of does that part for you.
Oh, okay. Got it.
The speed, the verticality, that desperation of the original Doom, that's all here.
Nice.
They changed up the formula, but there's very much that DNA through line.
Right. It's giving you that feeling with like modern play styles and capabilities.
And I saw that they're adding a lot more accessibility and difficulty options to Doom the Dark Ages.
Cool.
And it had me, I was doing this kind of thought experiment in my head of, do I wish that there was a patch for Doom Eternal when it came out and it was so divisive that just gave you options to basically brute force it back into being like Doom 2016?
I see.
Like if they dropped a patch restoring the normal amount of ammo for each gun and kind of getting rid of the scarcity of the ammunition and the reliance on the chainsaw and the glory kills. So after I beat the game, I just wanted to keep playing. Like I immediately loaded back into my other save file and kind of played through the second half again.
Cool.
But even after that, I've been loading into mission by mission and finding all the secrets.
Oh, fun.
So just cleaning up all the hidden little things. And some of those things are like toys, like literally vinyl toys of the enemies that you find scattered through the levels. Some of them are vinyl records of songs and parts of the score of earlier Doom games.
That's cool.
With like this cool, sick album art that they make.
Well, that's
It's
fun.
very loving. And secrets are very much a part of the Doom lineage, like I said before.
Neat.
But the other thing you find as secrets through this game are cheat codes.
Ooh, okay. What does that mean?
It means, well, when I've been going through these levels and replaying them, I've been turning on some of these cheat codes to just test this hypothetical. So some of them are, you have infinite lives. One of them is, you have infinite ammo. So I'm able to play this now.
Okay, yeah, so you can just do that.
Basically like I could in 2016. And this is why I wanted to do an episode on this game. Because it's way worse. It's
That's
okay
funny.
to do in that I've already had the experience with this level.
Right.
I'm cleaning it up. I'm finding secrets. I can kind of blow through the combat.
Right.
But it is way more boring.
Interesting. So it's like the way that they actually designed the game is the best way. That's very
now
cool.
that I've gotten to play the game in the way I thought I wanted it to be, I get it. I get their original vision because it's so much more boring. Because I have infinite ammo. I've fully upgraded all these guns. So, the super shotgun, which has a meat hook and drags you across the level.
Cool.
And it's awesome. Playing that with infinite ammo, it just becomes rote. It's still fun. It still looks great. It's still satisfying.
It's like when you get the star in Mario. It's fun for a minute, but you wouldn't want that the whole time.
But
yes,
and I just I haven't played much of it yet, but I just started playing through the expansion for the game, and that has thrown me back into no cheats. You're scrappy, you're playing with the whole tool belt, and that is so much more engaging and exciting Because when I was locked in and I blew through like levels at a time of this stuff that had stopped me cold in 2020, I just couldn't beat these because I wasn't finding that rhythm. I wasn't using all the tools. Having to use all of those, feeling that desperation, but also the empowerment of, okay, my health is low, I need to chainsaw, and then I need the glory kills, and I'm bouncing between, and I'm just rocking and rolling through these levels. I get it now. I get their original vision. And I still think that it is more divisive. I still might prefer Doom 2016. Okay. I don't know. I'm planning to replay that one too.
I was going to say.
before the Dark Ages comes out.
Okay.
But I finally get Doom Eternal. And now I'm in a weird circumstance that I didn't even feel after the final shape, that I didn't feel after Doom 2016, where I just can't stop replaying this game. Like,
that's so cool.
Yes, there are secrets that I'm going to get. I'm cleaning up side stuff. But I just want more of this.
Well, that's really, really exciting. So that's my next question is, what are you looking forward to in Doom the Dark Ages? And like, are you hoping for this type of play style that you experienced in Doom Eternal? Are you hoping for more what you got in 2016? Or do you want something totally new? Like, what are you thinking?
I think we've talked about before the danger of expectations, especially to a sequel. Or I'm thinking of how we thought about Nosferatu before it came out.
Yeah.
Because of the previous Robert Eggers movie. So anytime you have a new installment, whether it's in an artist's career or an actual series, I think the expectations are what usually screw you up.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm trying to be more objective and humble than I was between 2016 and Eternal.
I see.
Where I want to go in, and even from the trailers I've seen, I've watched everything. I didn't want to, but then I couldn't stop myself.
They look so cool.
I know this is going to be different. And that's okay. Because like you said with the sibling, that's such a good point. 2016, Eternal, and Dark Ages are all different interpretations of that original combat formula.
Yeah.
Because 2016 was just the run and gun, the kind of part that distills in your brain of, this was really fast and there were a bunch of demons and I felt cool. That's all 2016 is. And that's great. I still love that. Eternal was the parts you kind of forgot about. The verticality, the desperation, the jumping between weapons. It's doubling down on that ethos. And it looks like the Dark Ages is playing with projectiles.
Okay.
Where giving yourself the huge Captain America shield, it's not just for blocking incoming damage. It's about parrying.
Yeah, okay.
And knocking things back at the people who are shooting at you.
Yes, yes.
So it looks like there are a bunch of orange projectiles and then like one green one. And you try to parry the green one.
I see.
And that'll open them up for you to shoot them with these other things. So it almost reminds me of a game like Returnal, which again is much harder. And that's almost a bullet hell, which is a genre of games. It does.
Okay.
So I'm trying to go in without expectations and just trusting them. And when the first time I play it, I want to look for the new rhythm instead of grafting on the old play style.
I was going to say, it seems like the best move here, maybe this is the best mentality with any game, but is to go in and let the game reveal what it's meant to be rather than you just trying to force it into what you want it to be.
But I really admire the confidence behind that decision.
Sure,
yeah. To not just play it safe, to not just make a sequel that's more of the thing everyone
Well, this
loved.
is what the fans want. Yeah, right. Yeah. But it's like, actually, I know what you want, but you don't realize it yet. So you just have to trust us and you'll get there.
And there are new weapons that look fantastic. This one has a bit of it's not open world, but it has much broader sections that you can find secrets in and explore. Like exploration feels like it's a real part of the game here.
That's great.
And story is a huge part here. There was almost no story in Doom 2016.
Okay.
When you wake up and you start the game in 2016, you're strapped to a table. And you like rip yourself free and a little screen starts giving you exposition and the Doomslayer punches it and just jumps up and starts killing demons.
He's like, I'm not here for that.
But that felt like a thesis statement at the time.
Yes, right.
And Doom Eternal had a lot more story. But it was kind of tongue-in-cheek. And it was enough to keep you interested and motivated and moving. But it wasn't, I wouldn't call it a full cinematic story-led experience.
Okay, right.
Dark Ages looks like it really is.
All right.
And it's a prequel. And it looks like there's a lot of story, and it feels like they're leaning into, hey, remember Halo and Gears? Let's do that with some modern, fun mechanics on top of it.
Well, that seems really great.
I'm looking forward, and I think you're right about this. This should always be the perspective you have. I'm looking forward to being surprised.
Yeah, seeing what the game tells you. Well, that's so cool. This is, wow, so exciting for you. I hope that you do go back and play the 2016 Doom and let me know how that is. We might do an episode about that if it comes up. But thank you so much for sharing your experience, Cam. This is so exciting.
I like these kind of Q&A ones.
I do too. And this is fun for me because, like I said, I'm never going to play this game just because I know it's just not going to be for me. But
first person is tough for you.
It's just, I can't. I mean, listen, I'm trying to play Blueprints right now and it's making me dizzy. That's you walking through rooms. Yeah, I'm trying to play. I'm trying so hard, guys. Anyway, I've come a long way and I will continue to. But
the aesthetic, though.
I was going to say, I feel like getting to talk to you about it and just looking at the game and looking at footage and watching you play these games, that's enough for me. I feel like I'm getting the full experience anyway. So thank you for that.
As a guy who loves Faustus and Dante and all of that old John Milton, all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And loves classic Halo shooters. I mean, this is a match
it's perfect.
made in heaven
Well,
for
and
me.
I'm like especially excited for Doom the Dark Ages because I'm big into medieval lore and shit and history and art, and so like that's really exciting for me. So anyway, really cool. Well, let us know, dear listener, if you have played Doom Eternal, Doom 2016. Are you excited for Doom the Dark Ages? What's been your experience with the Doom franchise? What do you think about what the things Cam had to say? Do you have more questions for him that I could never possibly think to ask because I don't know what I'm talking about in this realm?
Has your opinion evolved on 2016 or Doom Eternal?
Yes. Or what are other games where your like opinion has evolved or you've changed your mind, you've come back to a game? That's always a really interesting idea. So please, if you're on YouTube, you can comment below. Otherwise, if you're just listening on a podcast, you can contact us via our email and Instagram. All the stuff's down below. Also, if you're interested in sci-fi and you're interested in Cam's latest book, Lemon Tarts in Space, is available for purchase right now. It is a light sci-fi dark comedy. It is about death and friendship and cancer and family and all kinds of things. It is so much fun. It's a fantastic story. You can read it as a book, ebook, get a physical copy, or you can listen to the fully produced audio drama, which does star Cam and is very, very wonderful.
And very much in the spirit of Doom, there's an overpowered shotgun in Lemon Tarts.
Awesome.
I'm connecting the dots now. That's absolutely where that came
That's
from.
so funny. I love to hear it. Well, because you started that in 2020, so it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, you can purchase that via the link down below. Also, we have a Patreon. It's $2 a month. We do bonus episodes every month. For that price, you can access those bonus episodes, but also support the show. And of course, access the whole back catalog of episodes we've been putting out for years now.
Plenty of game episodes we've done in the past.
Horror episodes, all kinds of things.
Other sci-fi. We've also done a series on the Dune books.
Yes.
Going through all of them individually, working on the last one still.
And that's not on our Patreon. That's just our regular
I'm just
feed.
Going through the pantheon.
I was just clarifying.
Yeah.
And we have lots of other game episodes.
We've talked about the first Halo. We've talked about Fallout 3, talked about Starfield, talked about God of War, talked about Hogwarts Legacy, talked about Final Fantasy 16. This is all off the dome.
Yeah, we're remembering as we speak right now. Anyway, we got a lot of gaming episodes, so check those out. I think they're in a YouTube playlist probably.
They should be.
Also, we have a whole series on Diablo 4.
Yes, we do.
So check that out.
Ongoing coverage.
Ongoing. All right. Thank you all so much for listening and for supporting the show, and we'll catch you here in just a few days with another brand new episode.